U.S. House Speaker McCarthy meets Taiwanese President, hailing never-been-stronger bond. Chinese aircraft carrier spotted off Taiwanese coast amid Tsai-McCarthy meeting. After Tsai-McCarthy meeting, 9 representatives arrived in Taiwan, sending a signal to Beijing. Beijing harasses Taiwan for anti-submarine training? Expert, the actual situation will be messy.
U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy met with Taiwanese President Tsai-Ing-wen in California on Wednesday, April 5th. The meeting marked a historic milestone, as McCarthy became the top U.S. leader to meet a Taiwanese president on American soil in many years. The meeting was hosted at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, despite threats of a retaliatory response from the Chinese regime. Beijing always views Taiwan's exchange with U.S. politicians as a signal for support of the independence of the self-governing island. McCarthy noted that the bond between the two countries had never been stronger, as the self-ruled island received bipartisan support from U.S. politicians. He said, "I believe our bond is stronger now than at any time or point in my lifetime. And of course, President Tsai is a great champion of that bond." Tsai thanked the U.S. Congress for supporting Taiwan amid the Chinese regime's ongoing threat and aggression, as she cited former U.S. President Reagan saying, "To preserve peace, we must be strong." As part of her visit to Central America, Tsai stopped in New York City last month. During her stopover in New York, she accepted an award from the Hudson Institute, a noted think tank, as well as delivered a speech to the Taiwanese community. Tsai also met with House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries. Speaking at a later press conference with Republican and Democratic lawmakers, McCarthy noted the importance of speeding up arms deliveries to Taiwan amid ongoing threats from the Chinese regime. "We must continue the arms sales to Taiwan and make sure such sales reach Taiwan on a very timely basis," he said, as he believed both parties agreed on the issue. He added, "We must strengthen our economic cooperation, particularly with trade and technology."
On Wednesday, the Taiwanese Defense Ministry reported that a Chinese aircraft carrier group was in the waters off the island's southeast shore. The aircraft carrier was spotted when President Tsai-Ing-wen met with U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy in California. The Chinese regime, which claims Taiwan as its territory, has warned of retaliation if the meeting happened. Taiwan's military said, "Foreign pressure can't deter our determination to embrace the world. It would watch the situation closely while refraining from inciting any conflict." Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense also detected 14 Chinese Army aircraft and 3 Navy vessels in the surrounding areas. The ministry said the Chinese Communists continued to send aircraft and ships to encroach on the seas and airspace around Taiwan. In addition to posing a substantial threat to our national security, it also destroys the status quo of regional security and stability. Such actions are by no means the acts of a responsible modern country. Hours later, Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council protested against the Chinese Communist Party CCP's plans for maritime on-site inspection of cargo ships on both sides of the Taiwan Strait. The CCP's foreign ministry criticized the Tsai-McCarthy meeting in California as acts of collusion and vowed to defend its sovereignty in the state-controlled news agency Xinhua on Thursday. It said the U.S. had obstinately allowed the Taiwanese leader's trip and Tsai's meeting with McCarthy in disrespect of the stern representations and repeated warnings lodged by China. In response to the CCP's threat to Tsai's meeting with U.S. politicians, John Kirby, the U.S. National Security Council spokesman, said, "Every other previous president of Taiwan has transited to the United States, so there's nothing uncommon here. There's nothing atypical about it, and there's no reason for the Chinese to overreact." A delegation of 9 U.S. representatives led by House Foreign Affairs Committee Chair Michael McCaul arrived in Taiwan for a 3-day visit to the island from April 6th to 8th. According to Taiwan News, McCaul said this visit of the U.S. congressman is intended to send a signal to China's regime and make the force ruling China think twice about invading Taiwan. The House Foreign Affairs Committee chair also said that the U.S. supports Taiwan and wants to help this island become stronger in defense. He revealed that all members of his delegation received threatening messages from China's regime. As planned, the delegation will have a meeting with President Tsai Ing-wen and Vice President Lai Ching-tu. The representatives will be treated to a banquet hosted by Legislative Speaker Yu Tse-kun and another hosted by Foreign Minister Joseph Wu. The bipartisan representatives will also discuss the Taiwan-U.S. relationship and arms sales contracts with the Taiwan government. Before the McCall and representatives visit, during a meeting with Taiwanese President Tsai-Ing-wen in the U.S., House Speaker Kevin McCarthy said, "The friendship between the people of Taiwan and America is a matter of profound importance to the free world. It is critical to maintain economic freedom, peace, and regional stability." Last month, a delegation of 6 U.S. members of Congress, led by Representative Ken Calvert, paid a 2-day visit to Taiwan. The delegate discussed issues of U.S.-Taiwan cooperation with Taiwanese officials, including security, economy, and trade. On April 3rd, China's Ka-28 anti-submarine helicopter made several forays into Taiwan's airspace. Experts believe the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, secretly conducts anti-submarine exercises using disruptive behavior, which has become the norm. However, some experts say the CCP's current preparations are only on paper and the situation could be messy. Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense on the morning of April 3rd announced there were 10 more sorties and 3 submarines continued to operate around the Taiwan Strait. In addition, Ka-28 anti-submarine helicopters entered Taiwan's southwest air defense identification zone 4 times during this. The Ministry of National Defense emphasized that Taiwan's military had used aircraft, ships, and coastal missile systems to monitor and respond to this situation closely. Da Ji-wan cited Su Tzu-yun, director of Taiwan's Institute for National Defense and Security Research, who said anti-submarine helicopters would operate from frigates for anti-submarine exercises. He believes Ka-28 anti-submarine helicopters will take off from 2 or 3 frigates. Su said the CCP's continuous activities in Taiwan's southwest airspace are mainly to capture the underwater topography. The intersection point between the Southwest Sea and South China Sea's deep waters is a strategic area for submarines to navigate because at the intersection of deep water and shallow water, both the temperature and salinity of the seawater will affect the sonar, sound navigation, and ranging detection. They will then conduct some air combat capability exercises, putting on a show for the U.S. There are currently 2 U.S. aircraft carriers operating in the northwest Taiwan area, and China is showing its ability to control American submarines entering the southwest waters from the Bashi Channel. Recently, some foreign media have also reported on the CCP preparing to attack Taiwan. As the New York Times reported on April 1st, the CCP's military experts are using the Russia-Ukraine war as a proving ground that allows China a chance to learn from both successes and failures and help them build tactics to attack Taiwan. The New York Times has examined nearly 100 Chinese research papers and media articles. Various assessments from the CCP's military and weapons experts about the Russia-Ukraine war abound, such as using hypersonic missiles to destroy ammunition bunkers, oil depots, and other targets. In addition, the PLA has also studied how Ukrainian troops use Starlink satellite links to coordinate attacks and circumvent Russian efforts to shut down their communications. It warned China must swiftly develop a similar low-orbit satellite system and devise ways to knock out rival systems. Shortly after, the Russian military invaded Ukraine and shut down terrestrial internet and mobile phones networks. Tesla's Elon Musk began providing Starlink services to Ukraine, allowing the country's internet connection to function uninterrupted. The satellite-based Starlink system has become an essential tool for the Ukrainian armed forces and government. The PLA experts have also studied Putin's use of nuclear weapons to threaten and prevent NATO from directly interfering in the Russia-Ukraine war. Their findings could encourage China to expand its own nuclear weapons research and development program. The article also pointed out that several reports have candidly mentioned the defeat of the Russian military. It cited experts as saying that studying the Russian military's mistakes will help the CCP in attacking Taiwan, who believe as long as they avoid those problems, they will be able to win the war. Yahoo News cited Joel Withnow, a senior National Defense University in Washington research fellow. Withnow said, although the CCP is going to try to roll those lessons into their training, officer education, and doctrine, this was a wake-up call that things may look easy in field training and on paper, but when you meet the enemy, things get very messy very quickly.